We're live.
We're live.
Awesome.
Well, hello. This is a Friday the 13th
Yes, Friday.
edition of the Journeyman Unfiltered. And in Friday the 13th fashion, our intro did not play like it was supposed to. So typical bad luck. Let's just hope that's all of the bad luck we get today. I think I can handle that.
Well,
So, Natasha K and uh, Truth She Wrote, I guess is your publication. And
yes,
that reminds me of Murder She Wrote. I guess
exactly.
I'm sure
Exactly.
you had that in mind, right?
I did. I did.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you, I mean, is it that I am just sort of, you're just sort of coming into my purview, or are you relatively new to Substack? How long have you
Um,
been on?
a little bit of both. I joined, well, it says I've been on here for a year. So
I
I
think they kind of default at a year. I don't think they do months, but maybe they do. I've been on here so long that when I got on Substack, it was just it was just like for emailing to people. So,
yeah,
for all its faults, the good part about it is that I never would have even come across you, right? I would
right.
have just been sending emails to whoever was silly enough to give me their email address.
Right, right.
So anyway, the reason that I wanted to talk to you is that you have been spilling some tea on notes with regard to the Democratic Party. And I mean, I'm a Democrat. I'm from Arkansas and of a certain age where it was just a default if
Yeah.
that you would just be a Democrat. I wasn't going to be a Republican because they were the ones that made me go to segregated schools. So you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think just over time, that has been sort of taken advantage of. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
look, it's very difficult when your choice is Democrats or the white supremacists.
Right.
It's really kind of a crazy choice. So, tell me a little bit about your background as it relates to the Democratic Party and so on.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That was really interesting to know about you. I didn't have the same upbringing. I was brought up with two conservative Christian parents, completely opposite ends of the spectrum. My dad being from Ghana, my mom being white American,
Okay.
and so they were both religious, evangelical. My dad came here on a scholarship to Liberty University, so that
Oh,
was his first
oh,
taste of America,
I
and
see.
that's what's been ingrained in him.
Right.
So, I wasn't born into anybody that believed in democratic values. I was born into, um, you know, my family, the white side of my family was racist. And, my
How's that
dad
work?
being I God,
I
I'm
mean,
still
just
unpacking
full
things with my
disclosure, my wife
yeah,
happens to be white, and so um, I, a little bit of racism in there, but not as much as you might think.
mhm.
Um, but go on. I want to hear the rest of this.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm not gonna go into detail because that would be way too long. I'm still unpacking, my
Okay.
childhood and my life
Yeah.
as, every single day with my siblings.
So
So,
what's your relationship with your parents? I mean, that's a whole lot going on.
yeah, not really much of one. My mom I don't talk to, and there's different reasons. Like, it's not just
Sure.
this, but, like and then my dad, he's just a hardcore Trumper, and when I
Okay.
started working for the DNC, my family in Ghana started calling me opposition. I'm like, "Okay."
It's not
So I
funny,
guess
but
right. But then they wanted to use me as like a you know what? Never mind. I'm not gonna get into it. But that's that. And yeah, so no, I don't really, uh, have a great relationship with my dad. I mean, we talk, but, you know, at a point, I just had to let go and realize that some people are just too far gone. So, you know, it is what it is. It's really sad,
It
but
is.
this is just who he is, and that's he's standing on business. He said that's who he is. So, okay.
So, that's one of it's sort of the fallout of just this moment in time that we're in, right?
Mhm.
Um, my, my family, I mean, both of my parents are gone, but, my brothers, um, I think at the beginning, like 2015, there may have been a little fascination with the whole idea of Trump, just because, everybody knew him from The Apprentice and all of that kind of stuff.
He
So
was
one
a
of my brothers,
personality.
yeah,
Mhm.
and my brother, they're all in Arkansas, and he called me up. I mean, he had been to, I guess, one of the early. This was more. I don't think he had morphed into the rallies like he ended up doing. So this
Mhm.
was maybe a little bit calmer situation, but it didn't last long. Fortunately for me. On my wife's side, however, her mom is remarried. I'm 99% sure that her mom's husband voted for Trump. He's just that kind of guy. Um, on the other hand, her mom, you know how there are these families where, the wife votes for whoever the husband votes for, kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah,
And
we're seeing a lot of that now.
I feel like this last time she didn't vote for him because it's a weird situation. So we were actually we were actually out having lunch. They had come to North Carolina and we were out having lunch. And this was back when he was on trial. Stormy Daniels, I guess, right? That's
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
34. Wait, whichever thing was
Mhm.
like 34 felonies. I forget which, maybe
Yeah.
I can't even remember. That's sad, right? Isn't it? I mean, I can't remember which
Yeah,
one
I
of the
think it was the hush
trials.
money payments that they got him on, nothing to do with Russia or
Yeah, yeah.
the
And
proven interference or anything.
so we were
Nothing about
sitting,
treason.
I know there's so many choices. We were sitting up having lunch and we were with her mom and mom's husband. And all our phones started lighting up because he had been found guilty of all of this. And I'm sitting there going, damn, how do, how do I react? Because I was ready to like, yeah. And I'm
Yes.
looking at the guy that's buying our lunch and I'm like, you
Yeah.
know, I'm gonna just say, yay. But the funny thing about it was her mom reacted happily. And that was when we first went, oh, wait a minute, something's changed here. Maybe
Mhm.
and sure enough, since then, she's gotten where I've never talked to her about it. But when she talks to Shannon, my wife, um, I mean, they've had long conversations about this guy, and you're just going, boy, I don't know what flipped the switch, but maybe it's her biracial grandchildren. Who knows? But hey,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah. That's what it was for my grandma, I know, because, she didn't approve of my parents, being together and,
Mm.
apparently did some horrible things to my dad. But,
Oh,
you know, I there was a lot of racism within my family, but,
hmm,
like, my grandparents obviously, like, eventually warmed up to it and, thankfully. So I feel like I had a pretty decent relationship with them, at
yeah.
least, which is
So
odd,
what
you
part
know?
of the country are they from? If you don't mind me
Michigan.
asking. Michigan. Okay,
Michigan. Mhm.
I got people up there.
Yeah.
Great migration.
Mhm.
So my wife's family, the two sides, her dad and then her mom, let me tell you, they didn't really, I didn't get any of it. It was like directed at her, like, girl, what are you doing?
Uh-huh.
And
Right.
they would, this is sad to say, and we'll move on, but there was an occasion where like her grandmother had embroidered this, like an apron, and it had like all the members of the family on it, and they left my wife's name off. Like she was like she was persona non grata, and
Yeah.
she was, like she went down to see her people, and she had, our kids with them, and she came back and she's like, they didn't put my name on the apron. I mean, we laugh
Wow.
about it now, but it was really,
Yeah,
it
but
was like the height of how ignorant racism is.
contentious. Yeah, that's crazy.
So am I correct that you actually have like sort of worked with the Democratic Party in some
Yeah.
way?
Yeah, I
Can you tell
was
me about
hired.
that?
Yeah, so I was hired to work on the 2024 campaign, when it was initially Biden-Harris,
Oh,
and, um, was there until the very end. So I was there throughout the switch. I was in IT, so I managed, the help desk and pretty much onboarding everybody, that worked on the campaign. Like, that's what we had to do, is kinda set up their
mhm.
equipment, make sure cybersecurity was, a big thing because, the DNC was
Oh
hacked in
yeah.
2016, and we didn't want a repeat of that. So, I had a really amazing team that I worked with, and, um, yeah, so I worked for them in that capacity, and then once that role ended, that was it. But, I was really happy to have a chance to be on the inside, even though it's not the same necessarily as the day-to-day DNC and what they do every day. Those people were there. A lot of those people in leadership were still there.
Mhm.
And then, as I'm sure you heard or saw, that they laid off, like 80% of their workforce, without severance, and
I
without
did
really
not
any
hear that.
notice. Some
I'm gonna
people
I'm gonna be
there.
honest with you. I
Mhm,
did not hear that, and it's probably because after things went the way they did, I went
mhm.
into like media silence. We, I mean,
So did I.
we playing board games around here. We were not watching any TV at all
Same.
because
That's
it was
crazy. Yeah.
well, it was just so disappointing that on a bunch of levels. But
Yeah.
I didn't know. So they let everybody go, and you were just, I'm done, and they didn't give you any kind of.
Now, not me personally, because
I see.
a lot of people were there as cycle hires. So,
Hmm.
the bulk of the people there were there specifically just for the campaign. Like, we knew there was going to be an end date, possibly some sort of extension depending on how the race went and
Right.
everything. But they ended up laying off even permanent people that didn't really anticipate it, or didn't anticipate it at all. And, again, some of them were there for upwards of 40 years with the DNC and no severance. So,
Huh.
um, it was really dirty, and it was
Why do you think
probably,
they did that? What I mean, what
because
possible.
I think that they misspent their campaign funds and, uh, didn't didn't have the money
Mm,
to 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 pay for it. I don't know.
yeah. So I
It's a
heard that
mystery. That's what the
it's
autopsy would help with,
well, see, since you opened
but
that door,
but I can tell you.
that is very. I'm sorry. Go on. Go on.
No, no, I was gonna say Open Secrets. Y'all can check Open Secrets and check the, um, DNC, Democratic National Committee, what they spent during the 2024 election, what their expenditures were. You'll see a lot of things in there that you'll wonder, like catering, thousands of dollars, what? Just look through it. There's a lot of things in there that can tell a lot of stories, but the DNC doesn't wanna come out and talk about them. So, that's all. But it is public knowledge, and there are articles that spoke about, them being let go. I mean, the
Mhm.
unions came out and spoke out against the way that they did it. It was really fucked up. So,
Mm.
yeah, but
So this autopsy. Now,
mhm.
see, I can't say that I was totally surprised. What's the guy's name that's now the
Ken Martin.
right, Ken Martin. See,
Mhm.
I don't know a lot about Ken Martin, but it was between him and a cat from, I guess, Wisconsin. And I I really was hoping that they would pick the other guy. because I looked at him on paper, and do you know who I'm talking about? The name
David
escapes me.
Hogg?
No, 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 not David Hogg. I think he was just way too. I like David Hogg, but he was like too much, you know, for them. You know what I mean? I just felt like,
Yeah.
and he kind of gave them no. No, I'm talking about. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. But the point is, I felt like number one, he had sort of flipped Wisconsin, over to our side, so to speak. And I thought he was a little bit more progressive. And yeah, I want to get on my phone and find this guy's name now because it's just I've drawn a total blank. But um, anyway, it
Mhm.
just fascinates me how um, you make this big thing out of you're going to do an autopsy, right? An after
Mhm.
action, and then
Mhm.
it comes out, and you know what? You're not going to tell us what it says. That's just nuts.
No, it didn't even come out. There was no,
Well, I
like,
mean, they finish it,
autopsy.
and and then they decide, it's not going to be that helpful.
Yeah, I
So
don't even think they did that, to be honest. If they did, I haven't seen that. I know that they released
I don't think
bits of
it's
it.
never been made public. I just heard that they finished it, and Martin decided it was counterproductive to release it. Was what I recall reading.
Okay,
But
I'm okay.
there's no. I think, see, my theory was that it may have said something to the effect that Democrats should be more progressive because that's where their base is. And in my opinion, they're not in the middle, I don't think. So I'd be interested to know what you think about that. I haven't been on the inside.
Um, as far as what do I
Well,
think
just in
about
terms of, look, I have told people before that, my thought was if Kamala Harris would have spent more time, if she would have spent as much time with AOC as she spent with Liz Cheney, perhaps the outcome would have been different. Just,
Mhm.
kind of my theory. I just do not understand how over and over again Democrats,
Make the
the
wrong
game
decision.
plan. I'm sorry.
Make the wrong decision.
Well,
Like,
well, yeah. I mean, but the game plan is always we got to go to the middle and get these imaginary people that, voted for Obama 15 years ago or 20 years ago almost, right? And it's almost like somebody trying to get their old girlfriend back. I mean, it's over. And, but at the same time, you got AOC over here raising money hand over fist,
mhm.
and she's popular. And I'm using her as an example because
Yeah.
she's kind of the best one. But I was on a show that I do every Thursday with Arturo Dominguez, and we were just talking about it. It's like having a football team and you bench your best player, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
that's just the
exactly
way it seems like Democrats operate. You just don't see their really, the folks that really motivate you. All I get is Hakeem Jeffries giving me 15-minute answers to a one-word question. So there.
Yeah, no, that is what they do, like, objectively, like what you just described. It said you've seen that they do that, but that's what they're doing. They're putting their best players on the bench because they want to keep their seats and they want things to stay comfortable and they want to continue getting their corporate and lobbyist money from whoever it is that supports them. And they're not willing to make change, as we saw that they, Nancy Pelosi and whoever else supported Jerry Connolly over AOC for what,
Okay.
like,
Now we're
speaker,
talking.
whatever. And RIP, but like, why the fuck are we putting somebody in there that we know is literally about to die, and then we let him die? And it's just like
And it's just, I know.
they do the same exact thing that they accuse and that we accuse Republicans of doing. It's the exact same thing. And I just feel like until people realize that these people are one and the same. Not every single one, because there
Right.
are a lot of fighters in there, but they are being suppressed and oppressed like a lot of us were on the campaign. You see that same thing occurring within the party now. So that's how I know this is how things are. And that's why I've come to the point where I left. I'm registered as unaffiliated.
Mm,
I don't want any parts of it. However, I am willing to go back and forth with registering as Democratic. If actually, my state is about to pass legislation, hopefully, that allows people who are registered as unaffiliated to vote in the primaries, which I just found out about like 2 days ago. So
really?
that
What
would be
state is
amazing.
this? Oh,
Delaware.
Michigan? No,
Delaware.
Delaware. Okay.
Hmm. That
Hmm.
would be amazing. I
Interesting.
was so I'm reminding myself right now because I have to contact whoever about that. But
So
that would
someone in
solve
the
all.
chat just
Yeah,
Ben Wink
Winkler. Okay.
Wickler. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
thought he was
I'm
just
not
the
familiar.
natural to step in. And then, I never heard of Ken Martin to be, and that's on me,
I
but
never heard of either of them,
he
to be
wasn't.
honest.
Well, I only knew about Ben because of the state that he was in, and they were just like, winning all these elections, and I think it was like maybe in their Supreme Court and just a lot of stuff, and coming from where they had been with the Republican governor, um, that they'd had for several terms. It
Hmm.
just I was impressed with this guy, but Democrats.
Well, like you said, well, after the election, like I took it very, very, very rough because it was a very rough time for me.
Hmm.
With all of the racism that I experienced, and that I watched my colleagues and my friends and them experience, and just everything. Like I feel like we took it a lot more serious than a lot of the other people. And I knew that this is what my life was going to be. I knew that it was going to turn into an anxiety induced every single day. Like I'm
Mm.
going to wake up. I just knew it was going to happen because that's what happened the first time. And I fought so hard against that. And to feel like we were being pushed back from being able to do, like, to get the word out, to talk to people that we felt like we really needed to talk to. I don't know who is in charge specifically of those decisions, like she should have done more meetings with AOC. But I wouldn't be shocked to find out if it was internally the consultants and whatnot steered her away from that, because the consultants, people like James Carville and people that have been there for 10, 20 years and are still actually just pushing a moderate, which is white supremacist agenda, is just moving the Overton window further to the right. Um, we allow them to speak for the base, even knowing that this is not what the base wants. This is not what we want, like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. They're stonewalling us. They know exactly how much we're screaming. They know that we're pissed, and they're just not acknowledging it. And that is
Mhm.
so disrespectful to us. Like, that is a slap in our faces. And these are the people that are running the party. They're not willing to step down. They're continuing to push this agenda because it's all about power and money and supremacy at the root of it all. And the DNC has been complicit in that as well. And that's why I speak out so much about it, because the world is on fire and people need to know how uh how much, just look into people and see that a lot of these people are not for us. They are continuing to vote for policies to continue to fund war, to continue to fund ICE, to refuse to denounce ICE, to refuse to denounce John Fetterman's racist fucking remarks, to refuse to stand on anything. You know, it's a slap in our faces, and we should all be angry about it. And I'm at the point where I feel like Black people should leave the party because the DNC refuses to reckon with its internal racism, which is a huge factor, not only internally because of the way, because of what I experienced or because of what, my colleagues experienced, but because we weren't able to do the work that we could have and should have been able to do. We wanted to do more. We wanted to get the word out, but there are articles out there that you can see where they prevented us from doing so. They didn't give us the money that we needed, even though funds were flowing. They couldn't afford to put staff in some of these field offices and some of uh, the largest battlegrounds like PA, North
Mm-hmm.
Carolina. These things are public, but it's just, I don't know how after the election, everything just kind of got buried. I know for me, I went into hibernation. Like I was pissed and I didn't want to hear any news. I didn't want to know what was happening because I was in my, I fucking told you so. I don't give a fuck. I did what I could and I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if he's taken away birthright citizenship. I don't give a fuck because I voted against this. And my whole being that year was to vote us out of this. And this is what we got because people wouldn't allow us to put in the work. People were too afraid to look into possible interference, even though we know that the bomb threats that were called into a lot of these precincts were Russian originated. So it's just like they're promoting this agenda, and I'm fucking sick of it. I want people to see who these people are for real, see who they are funding, see who gives them money, see who they're taking money from. People like Chuck Schumer, he took money from Jeffrey Epstein. Look it up. He took money from Jeffrey Epstein. He took money from Harvey Weinstein. These people are fucking monsters. And they know that. They're not that stupid. They're just hoping they don't get caught. But when somebody calls them out about it, then that's when they'll decide to give it back to good works. Like, look at these people and understand who they are. They've been playing in our faces for like decades. And I personally just feel like people need to look into these people and make a conscious effort to decide whether or not you stand for those values and whether we're going to hold these people to account. But also, we have to start building something new as we get through this because this two-party system is not sustainable. And I'm sorry, I just went on like the longest rant.
Go off, honey.
But that's
I mean, that's that's why. I
that's
mean, hey,
just
folks
how
hear
I
what I got to
feel.
say all the time. This is boy, where do I begin? So, okay, so let's talk about the two-party system.
Yeah.
My sort of theory about it is, and it's part of the reason that I guess I haven't bothered to leave the Democratic Party. Um, I look at it from just the angle of resources and what does it take to build a new house as opposed to renovating an existing house. And
Right.
that's kind of where I think, this is a house that needs to be gutted, you know, to the studs, right? And
Mhm.
so I hear you, and the urge to me to just say fuck it and I'm just leaving and we'll just start something new. I mean, it feels good, and I would, if I thought it would work, I would have already done it. And yeah, I'm no political expert. This is just my, sort of my opinion, but um, I think it's easier to run all of. I mean, if AOC runs against Schumer for um, for the Senate, I don't think there's any doubt that she would win. What
Mhm.
do you think about that?
Whose votes on that?
Well, that's New York. Okay, so
Oh,
Schumer,
sorry. Okay, I'm thinking like internal.
yeah, Schumer, if
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not mistaken, is up for. Okay, Courtney, I hear you. She said probably depends on whether the foundation of the house is cracked.
Mhm.
Well, and
Good
it
point.
might be in this case. It really might be. We might have to tear that SOB down, but it might have to come down. But we'd have to
Funny.
see first, right? I mean, but I feel like they're. See, here's the problem that they have. Third Way had a big old confab about a week ago, and their entire focus was preventing AOC from winning the nomination. And I
Whose
was
was
kind
it?
of like, well, third way is kind of like these moderate Republicans. Don't buy if you haven't heard of them.
Republicans or
I mean, I'm
Democrats?
sorry, Democrats. Democrats that
Okay.
well, they say they're
Well,
Democrats,
okay.
but maybe that was kind of a Freudian thing.
Mhm.
But no, seriously, they had this, almost like a CPAC kind of, one of these things, and they all get together
Yeah.
and they're talking about, progressives haven't passed no legislation and they haven't done, and it's like, well, what have y'all done? you know, um, and it is obvious if you look at it from the last 10 years, what used to be considered off the table as far as Democrats go is now understood part of the platform. And so, and I didn't vote for Bernie Sanders, but we certainly owe that to him, I would say, pushing the party a little bit by little,
Yeah.
to the left. But it's not enough because there's a guy, Perry Bacon, and he writes for the New Republic. And he wrote this article that I read this week. And he's talking about what we call moderate now in the Democratic Party isn't really moderate, according to the polling, in terms of what people want. They want a whole lot of things that are much more progressive. And I feel like that's what's scaring the shit out of these people, because from my point of view, Natasha, what's the middle point that I'm supposed to meet? Like, I don't know, Tom Cotton, like these racist people.
Mhm.
What am I supposed to give up to compromise? What am I supposed to compromise with folks who are just being racist? We're not
What do you
talking about, I don't know. I mean, birthright citizenship, all these various things, DEI, for example, which brings me to what made me just pick my phone up and reach out to you. Almost said call you, but you posted something the other day that, and said something to the effect that that the Democrats got rid of their DEI program. So I didn't even really think about them having one.
Mhm.
Please tell me about this.
Yeah,
A,
well,
is it true? Did
is
that
it
really
what?
happen? I mean, that really happened. They got rid of, why did they do that?
Well, it's just the same reason they keep doing everything else that keeps pushing us further into the white supremacist agenda. I can't tell you why they said they were doing it, but I can only imagine that after getting so many complaints, people probably just got overwhelmed and said, we really don't need it. They were actually, just trying to not fund, it seems like, the things that really needed to be funded the most. And again, it's just like the same thing that we see on the outside, how they keep ignoring the Black vote and Black women and um, denigrating and dismissing Black women like Jasmine Crockett, who,
Mhm.
is being called narcissistic. We're held to a higher standard. That's the thing. And um, I, I guess they just decided it wasn't necessary anymore. Um, so, I mean, I personally was
Who was
involved with
complaining
it
about it?
because I was experiencing direct racism. I was being iced out by some of my colleagues, and there was a campaign against me by a horrible, horrible boss that I had. And, eventually it went to the point of having to contact the union. Um, So it's not like DEI and you would think a Democratic campaign, everybody would be woke, right? And, there just wouldn't be any racism. You would think everybody's on the same page and we're all here for the same thing. And that's another reason why I'm so glad that I went through it, because I was able to see they're not all for us. Those people were not happy when Kamala became the nominee. They weren't happy about it, you know? There was a joy, and I know that everybody saw that. Everybody talks about it. Like there was a huge joy, you know, and that black joy, like we were proud, we were excited, we could not wait to get this woman elected because we knew what we were up against and we knew that she was very capable of getting done, and we could have pushed her on other things too. But um you know, we just like they have an HR department, just like they have finance, you know, when you have a campaign, you have to build it from the ground up. So they did have DEI, they did have HR, they had all of those things in place. But for whatever reason, I guess they, I wasn't part of the decision. Um, but I was pretty infuriated about it when it happened because it was
Yes.
like an overwhelming amount of people going through the same thing. And, once I started talking to people and asking everybody what their experiences were, just in general, like, how are you doing? Like, everybody would just open up. And I'm like, I thought I was the only one, when people are coming to you in tears about how badly they're being treated, you start to realize, okay, it's not just me. This is a problem. This is a
Hmm.
problem. And that's been a problem with them institutionally, but it's not a problem that they want to talk about. So I think that's a large part of not releasing the autopsy, because I know Ken Martin mentioned at some point he spoke to like 100 people on the campaign. Who was one of them black? Maybe two? Who did you talk to? Not the people that know, because I'm very perceptive, and I feel like, I don't know if it's like my motherly instinct or what. I don't know what it is, but I get so angry when I see people mistreated and hurting. And I was going through the same thing. So it made me feel hyper aware of the situation. And I really started I had access to talking to so many people, even the people that I never saw in person. I spoke with a lot of employees across a lot of the different offices in the battleground states, PA, Nevada, Minnesota, like especially Minnesota. Um, so it was a common theme that even people in the offices in the battleground states were experiencing direct and blatant racism and allowing these disgusting white supremacist men and women to be on those campaigns, and people like us have to work underneath them when they're actively going against what we want to do because we know it's what's best, because they don't like black people in power. They didn't like seeing us happy. They just didn't want to allow us to be, They still tried to hold us down. And that happened throughout the whole entire campaign. So that's something that they would have to reckon with. And I'm sure we're not the only campaign that's experienced that, but this I feel like was unprecedented because we've never had a nominee, Biden dropped out and all of a sudden, we've never had that happen, let alone with a woman, let alone with a black woman, a black and Asian woman, right?
Hmm.
So that was a whole different thing that occurred, and they're not willing to reckon with that. But I mean, the information is out there. I'm not the only one who experienced it. um, but they don't want to admit their faults, so
Hmm.
we're here.
So how I'm just wondering how something like this, how would that, like the sort of inner circle, and I'm almost answering my own question. I'm Because where I was going was, did Kamala know this? But then you think about that sort of, circle that was around Joe Biden that made him think he needed to run again, which if that could have changed a whole lot if he had decided not to run.
Exactly.
There could have been a primary. She probably would have won it in my mind. I don't know who could have beaten her, but
Well,
I always said that nobody stepped up and said, I want to run because they'd done the polling and they knew they probably couldn't beat her. But I guess my point is, when you're the candidate, I feel like there's a circle of people that maybe prevent you from getting bad, really the kinds of things you're talking about. But
yeah.
I don't know the answer to this. I don't know how many people of color were in that, that circle that would have been able to say, we got a problem over here, you know. Um, and maybe you can enlighten me a little bit on that. Just in
Um,
terms, I don't really know who was close to her. And I always thought, and it was kind of disappointing when, she announced that she was stepping in, that she was going to basically step into Biden's infrastructure and
mhm.
his people and his, so it, I can understand on paper why it looks like that might make sense.
Yeah.
However, it may be a whole lot, it may be the reason for a whole lot of what you're describing. What do you think?
Yeah, and I'll also say, to what you said, I don't know who was in her inner circle, so I can't speak
Mhm.
to that, but, um, I do have her book, and I haven't read it yet, but I from the excerpts that I read, it sounds like she experienced some level of what I've been speaking to,
Mhm.
um, but I don't know to what extent fully, and again, I haven't fully read the book, but that's the vibe that I got and what I've seen some other people say. I don't think that, there was just so many things, right? There was so many things that made this difficult, right? We had a campaign built on people who thought that we were going to be, trying to get, Joe Biden elected as president, and then, it switches, and we only have 107 days. So how it again, we have an HR department, we have an actual like hiring process. So with 107 days and say it takes 20 to 30 days to fully hire, vet, background check, all these things on all of these
Mhm.
people. And that's nobody, like, and then at what point, how do you decide who gets replaced? I just feel like that it was so unprecedented that I don't think that there was anything that could be done in that sense, but what I do think they could have done was hired more Black people. I think they could have funded, more of our efforts in the battleground states and, um, just done the right thing all around so that we could have at least seen the full fruit of our efforts, but we were, like, stifled by people who just thought that they knew better, consultants or whoever it might be that didn't just really, for whatever reason, you just know they didn't want to see that. There were people like at the very end of it who, when asked how they felt, I'm fine. I feel good. And literally everybody in the office, lights are off. People are literally crying, sobbing. And I'm like, you feel fine?
Hmm.
Like, are you okay? I knew something was off because that's not normal. Or are you that, like, unaware of your privilege being a white man that you feel like Donald Trump becoming president is not gonna affect you? And it's like, did he not realize that we were going to be thrown into World War III and
Mhm.
that, we were gonna turn into a completely, like, fascist state? Did your mind, it feels like sabotage.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you think that a lot of white folks that weren't
Mm.
worried because they figured we'll be okay.
I don't know. I just think that a lot of these people are still at the core, either unconsciously or consciously biased.
Mm.
And you can tell because the energy in the room was very off. once she became the nominee and once we started hiring more Black people and changing the logos and changing everything over, it started to feel like people were getting resentful. And I don't know
Okay.
if that's maybe because of the work that they did before and now it's all changed, but that doesn't make any sense to me. And then you also have consultants who continue to say, like, you know, maybe Biden should have stepped down, but they'll say that we could have had another nominee, like as if Kamala was not ever good enough. Like we could have definitely got somebody better in there had Biden stepped down. Like that's where their mind goes.
You know,
Not
they
he should
were
have made
talking
way for
about,
Kamala.
yeah, yeah. They were talking about having a primary. I remember Pelosi talking about having some sort of mini primary.
Mhm.
And I'm like you said, you got 107 days. What are you talking about? A primary?
Exactly.
How's that going to work?
Get real.
Right. And, you know, from the beginning, I always thought that Kamala had an impossible job because, you know, she came in and, you know, her portfolio was all the shit that we've never been able to get done. You know what I mean? Like fix
Mhm.
the border. I mean, not the border, but you know, the
Right.
root causes of whatever. And it it felt to me like sabotage.
Mhm.
Now, you know, you see her and Biden on TV and they look like they liked each other. I mean, at which isn't the case with a whole lot of, you know, president, vice president relationships.
As we see.
But they yeah, but but they seemed like they genuinely got along. Um,
Yeah.
but as you say, there's the background of consultants and people in folks' ears, and you know, it it is funny. I mean, you mentioned Jasmine Crockett. I'm not even in Texas, and I'm mad about that.
Mhm.
Um, so, what are your thoughts on that that primary and how it went?
Um, I mean, obviously, I don't know the full details. I'm not in
Sure.
Texas either, but based on the things that I've read, I mean, it's just, again, this is just a repeated pattern. This isn't anything new that we haven't seen. Like they are consistently trying to oppress the blackest, the loudest, the strongest, the bravest, the most intelligent voices on that party because they want to preserve what's already there. And the status quo is white supremacy. So that's my thoughts. And for people to say, she was narcissistic running her campaign. And, I even heard people, they were talking about how Jasmine shouldn't have called out Tallarico for calling Colin Allred a mediocre black man. Like that was wrong of her to try to paint
Oh,
him as
not
racist.
of him, not for him to say it, but
Right,
for her to call it out.
right, right.
See,
So,
that's something I was unaware of.
yes. And
He said
for
that?
him, some minority report,
Okay.
majority
Oh, yeah.
report.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, some woman on there. Somebody posted it on Threads and I saw it and went and watched the interview and I was like, disgusting. She was like, I'm more encouraged to be happy that the candidate that was chosen was not dividing people. And they were like, yeah, she was very divisive. She's trying to paint James Tallarico as racist when he said, obviously, that's not what I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? These people are supposed to be progressive Democrats and they're talking like this. She also wasn't given an opportunity to go on Stephen Colbert. She also wasn't given an
No.
opportunity, thank God, to go on Joe Rogan, I'm sure. And why the fuck would she? Why is James Tallarico entertaining that, as we've seen with Gavin Newsom do? Again, like people need to wake the
Mhm.
fuck up and realize who they're voting for and what they are promoting, whether or not they seem like a good person. If they are promoting things that are pushing white supremacy and that agenda, then they're probably not the person to vote for. He was also much less qualified.
That
I
was the
mean, it's
point
it's
I
just
made. It's like,
yeah,
okay, hang on a second.
in addition to that, yeah.
Yeah,
Among
okay,
other
so this
things.
guy's a middle school teacher, and then he becomes a state senator. There's only one person that I know who's made the jump from that to the Senate, to and that's Obama.
Mm,
And this guy's not Obama,
no,
right?
he's not.
Now, I hope it works out, but I just get a real John Fetterman vibe. Like this guy gets in there, and all of these, well choreographed videos that we've been seeing, all that shit's gonna go by the wayside.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can
he took
tell.
money
Mhm.
in his state Senate campaign from Miriam
Adelson.
Adels.
Mhm.
I'm just like, how's that happen?
And people are
Why did
trying
she
to
you know what I'm saying? Why did she
Yeah,
okay, forget why he took the money. Why she give him that money? Because I'm like, yeah, she's
red
rich, but
flag?
she's certainly got to expect something.
Right, that's
Why
not a red
she pick
flag.
this guy? Yeah, it's a big red flag. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think too. Watch what happens when he loses, because I don't think he's got a chance of winning. Right? They've pissed off everybody black. you know, I don't
Mhm.
think he's got a chance. And watch how it'll get explained away when he loses, versus had Jasmine Crockett won, the
She won't
primary.
even be a thought.
Had
They
she
won't even talk
lost,
about
oh
her.
my God, it would have been, see there, we keep telling y'all and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, that's why I said, like, if you can, like, look into your state's rules, and I'm not saying withhold your vote or don't vote at all, like, keep
right.
voting, but if you have the ability and, the energy to, like, you know, uh, sign back up as a Democrat for primaries if you have to, and then I don't know, it's just, like, the principle of it all, and honestly, I'm, trying to help get the word out about other parties like the Working Families Party and Democratic Socialists of America, more progressive
Mhm,
parties like that. And I'm not saying put your trust in all of these people, but I'm saying that a lot of their values are in line, at least with what I stand for. And Working Families Party, for example, endorsed Mom Donnie, who is
mhm.
like the most well
They've
known
always
politician,
endorsed
most liked.
AOC as well, as far as I can remember.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, but it's also another thing, like if the DNC is actively working against this person who's running it as a Democrat, maybe we should look into that person. They might be the person we need to look into because they're actively campaigning against what we are asking for. They are, again, just playing in our faces. They know what we want is not them, and they're ignoring it and just trying to pretend like we don't exist, but I hope people are able to primary them and get them the hell out as we
Yeah.
continue to build.
So I guess Hakeem Jeffries has a primary coming up. I don't know, in New York City. Well, yeah, in New York City.
I'm nervous
I,
about
I,
that.
I wonder if anybody is seriously run. If he's got any serious opposition.
I'm not sure.
Because the reason I say that is I looked at Mamdani's numbers in Hakeem Jeffries' district, and I don't know, but he won handily. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
so it just makes me think that somebody could primary this guy if they had a remotely progressive agenda. He just seems
I
vulnerable.
yeah, I don't know. The guy that I've seen, I think he was actually running for mayor.
Mhm.
I'm not 100% sure.
Lander,
But
he's running. Are you talking about the Jewish guy that kind of he and
Brad
Mamdani
Lander?
little? Yeah, they are. Right, right, right.
No, no, no. This is, I mean, back when the mayoral race, like early on
Oh, I
in
see.
it, I think he might have ran. I just remember seeing his face, but somebody pointed out, I don't remember his name. Vance, is it Vance? I think it's Vance. Um, Last I checked, I haven't looked into him yet again recently, but last I
Mhm.
saw, I just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I
Um,
tell you, I mean, it's
how do we
it's
get that
it's
man
really
out?
it's
He's got to go.
it's frustrating though, isn't it? I mean, because we've
We
got
just
the
carry him
people.
out on his back leg. just get him out.
Yeah.
Ugh,
I mean, it just really, you know, I had really high hopes for Hakeem Jeffries. I really did. I don't know what, in
a lot of
retrospect,
people
I don't know
say,
why.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, he was basically the person that Pelosi groomed, to step into her shoes. But I thought that he would kind of be his own person. Yeah, but watching him, it's like
yeah.
watching sort of a low level Pelosi. So I
Mm,
don't know.
yeah, but even less competent. He's less competent. I mean, let's be honest. He's not getting anything done.
No.
Pelosi got some things done.
And that was the thing about her. I didn't always agree with her. I didn't like how
Right.
she treated AOC or progressives just, as a group. But she knew how to run her caucus. And I mean, she was damn good at it. So that made up for a lot, right?
Yeah.
Um, but
Uh-huh.
I'm just kind of looking as we're talking here, and it doesn't appear that Jeffries has anybody that's seriously threatening him, which
Yeah.
is kind of sad. I was hoping there was a guy, I don't know, about a decade ago. This is back when the Tea Party, was sort of on the Republican side, which we should have seen this coming where we are now when the
Yeah.
Tea Party rose up. But I remember Eric Cantor, who was like, I don't know, a minority whip or something like that. He wasn't the speaker. And I feel like they controlled the House at the time. And just some guy, just a school teacher, nobody took him seriously. And he beat Eric Cantor and basically ended his political career.
Mm,
So, I mean, it can happen. I
yeah.
just, I don't know, wishful thinking.
Wishful thinking.
So, what are you going to do? You're no longer a Democrat. Um, I mean, where does that leave you? Do you know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
yeah.
Just in terms of, I mean, because for me, I guess I'm still a Democrat because
Mhm.
there's really not a Republican I can think of that I would
Oh,
vote
God, no.
for, right? So it's such a binary choice, maybe, and it shouldn't be, perhaps. Um, you look at other countries and they have like all these choices. Germany or wherever it might be. Um, but it's this or that, you
Right.
know,
So
and this ain't even that great.
I know it's not. It's not. So, I mean, that's why, like, again, I just encourage everybody to look at your local laws because, as far as like voter registration and whatnot, because some people might have the ability to vote in primaries regardless of party. Some people might be restricted to, or might not even be allowed to vote in primaries if you are not part of a party. So I'm going to vote in primaries. I'm not going to just not, sit things out. I
Sure.
will change my registration back to Democrat and vote in the primaries if I have to, and then change it back. I don't mind doing that.
Mm,
I work from home, so, I can go out of my way to do that, and I will. Um, but also, again, my state specifically, it sounds like, is about to pass legislation where it would allow people who are registered as unaffiliated to vote in the primaries, which would be freaking amazing because then people wouldn't have to go through this. Then it could
mhm,
open up the door and expand for these third parties, like these smaller parties, like the Working Families Party. They can become a viable party that I can become a part of if they have 600 signatures from folks in the state. But it's a hard process because of the fact that you can't vote in the primaries and people don't want to just not vote, and
mhm,
not everybody has the ability to just go and keep switching their party affiliation for the purpose of. But and pushing for legislation like that would help. But I think that, yeah, I mean, the people that I'm going to support are going to be Democratic. It's never going to be anybody on the
mhm.
Republican side. But even Democrats are speaking out against Democrats. So people like Chris Bennett, who Walter Ryan spoke with the other day, like he's a very progressive candidate, and he seemed just so warm and just like real, just humble,
Yeah.
just normal, just wanting to help people, like just a regular person that wants to help people and cares about people and sees how things are just so off and unjust. And he's said that, he speaks out against it. And they have a right to, because we should be holding them to a high standard, because they keep saying that they're the party for the people, but they're actually not. So, I'm not saying like I'm just not listed as a Democrat affiliated, but I still totally am supportive of like Democrats who are running on progressive things. I just have my standard. I'm not going to be beholden to any party. If
Hmm.
somebody fucks up, if some party is doing me wrong, like the Democratic Party, and I feel like they're not representing my values, I'll leave. Like, it's nothing to me. But I think people should realize that they have that power, and that we have the ability to change these things, and just look into your laws and see, how we can start, supporting some of these smaller, like the WFP and DSA, but also building something that like we can collectively like agree on, that we, our values, our morals, our, whatever we want it to be. Like, we have to have more than two parties. That's for certain. Like, going forward, it's not sustainable, and it's going to take a long time, but it has to be done at the same time as we're trying to like preserve our elections right now, and make sure that our local elections are not interfered with, and that our states aren't trying to pass legislation before the election that prohibits you from being able to vote if you don't have X, Y, and Z, or trying to make sure that the SAVE Act doesn't get, turned into law, whatever it may be. Like, there's a lot of things that we have to collectively be doing at the same time right now, and it's going to be a lot of work. But I just feel like this is the rest of our lives. I've got kids. I want them to be free. I want them to be happy. I don't want this for them. And so I can't just sit here. Like, we have to exert ourselves to our best abilities. I'm not saying overexert yourself. I'm not saying like don't die on this hill, please, because like we need everybody to fight. But like it's just going to be a lot more work than what we're used to, essentially. And um, the sooner we realize that, like the quicker we can start getting to work, because this is going to be a group effort. We can't rely on our local officials to do anything. We have to take things in our own hands, audit our own elections, and just make sure that things are preserved. And if something's wrong, alert us, alert people, because there are people that there are watchdog groups, voter protection groups. We have to alert them about what we're seeing on the ground, because they're not all over the place either. So just take those things into account and be cognizant.
Natasha K. Truth She Wrote. Thank you so much for giving me some time.
Thank
I
you so much
really
for having
appreciate it.
me.
I really do. And this is really, I hope it gives folks something to think about, because um, I think a lot of us, and I'm including myself, just have not so much as of late, but I just grew up thinking that, we're the good guys, right? We
Right.
Democrats. And, we talk a good game. And,
Yeah.
but
I
in this
did.
day and age, one of the things that comes from the democratization of all this technology that we've got is that I get to talk to people like you. I never would have known about you if not for, being able to, you know, and Substack ain't great, by the way. Not trying to put them on a pedestal. They got
Yeah.
problems. They got Nazi problems and all
Yeah,
that
they
kind of
do, they
stuff.
do, but
But
it's
but
great
all of them
for
do. So it's like, where
right,
you going to run to, right? And
yeah,
somebody a while back, a lot of people were leaving this platform, and I was kind of like, if a Nazi or some racist moves across the street from me, I'm not moving.
yeah.
So I kind of look at it like that. This is my house, and I don't even see these guys, so they don't. I guess they know I'm not the one. But
Well, Why why do they think I am?
Well, you know what?
I
I
don't
got your
know.
back,
They're coming
sis. Don't
in.
worry about it. Just like I said, I try to use what little bit of, you know, what little bit of whatever you want to call it on social media when I, especially when it's, some anonymous person coming at a woman, and don't let it be a woman of color. My antenna gets real, like,
Yeah,
what the fuck are you doing, dude? So yeah, I try to look out for folks, and I
I
don't
appreciate
mind them
that,
coming
yeah.
at me because, like I said, I went to segregated schools. Y'all can't, you can't scare me.
Yeah, yeah, you've been through it. I would love
I've
to hear
been
those
through it.
stories too. I'm sure
Exactly.
that's yeah,
I know it's crazy, right?
yeah.
You think that was 100 years ago. It
No,
was not.
no,
It
no,
wasn't.
it wasn't
So
that long ago.
anyway, all that to say, I really appreciate you coming on and just kind of, you know, opening up and bearing your soul a little bit. Folks need to hear that. And as I said before we got on, I'm a Democrat, but they don't own me.
Right,
And I think
right.
that's the way we all ought to look at it. And
Yeah,
I, up until now, they haven't really had to think about, us, right?
so they think.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I want to hear that thought. What?
No, I'm just saying, so they think they didn't have to think
Well,
about
yeah,
us.
they
That's the
that's what they
thing,
think.
'cause we're
And
used and abused
to me,
over and
that is,
over.
I think, part and parcel when you see things like what happened in Texas, when you see some of these other things that you've described, it feels a whole lot like somebody who don't think they got nothing to worry about, you know.
Yeah,
And I mean, because I'm going to be really interested to see what the black turnout is in Texas. Yeah, I just can't imagine
but it's
it.
not looking good from what
I
I'm
can't
from
imagine it is going to be unaffected.
people are mad. I don't know
I
if you're
know
on
they are.
Threads, I don't know if you're on,
Like I
but
said,
they
I don't even
are
live in Texas and I'm mad. So
yikes,
I
yeah.
can't imagine some of the shit that I saw. I told somebody the other day, it just felt to me like the Democratic establishment in Texas was in cahoots with Ken Paxton because it was just sort of weird how some of the stuff was happening. But
Mhm. Look
I
into
guess
it.
we'll have
Look
to,
into
I'll
it.
have to get you back on here. We'll talk about that,
I would
maybe
love
down
to,
the line.
yeah, yeah. Well, it
Folks,
was
if
great. Thank you
you
so much for having me on.
oh, my pleasure. My
Yeah,
pleasure.
I'm really glad you
Um,
reached out.
Folks, if you're not subscribing to Truth She Wrote, shame on you. Take care of it. Support this lady. And while you're at it, go ahead and move over and, make some room for the journeyman too. Anyway, Friday the 13th, people.
Friday the 13th.
Keep your head on a swivel.
Yes, be hopeful, be hopeful, be
Be
hopeful,
hopeful and be
and enjoy the
careful.
sunshine if you have it.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
that's my next move. I'm going to put my sunglasses on and go outside. I hope you can do the
sounds
same.
good. Yes.
Take care, folks.
All right.
Bye bye.
Bye.